what more could Drew Lock have done? Like, what would you have wanted to see from him, at least in the games, that you say, hey, that's what could have won you the job?
Nothing in the first game. He was as good as
throw
he could
to
be.
Judy, like, could that have swung this? That's 3 touchdowns for Drew, 2 for Teddy. If he just gets that throw for Judy from here to here,
quite possibly, because when Teddy had his 4th and 5 on Saturday, he got the first down and much more.
Yep.
So that's one thing.
Great protection on the play, by the way.
Yeah. It's funny how protection helps both quarterbacks.
Sure does.
Huh? Yes. The other thing I think with Drew Lock, the one thing that could have helped just a little bit is, and again, it's kind of beyond his control, but that first series that he had where he's under pressure and takes a couple of sacks, is that on him? No, because you can point to to things breaking down, but it's on that series where I think if he could have found a way to wiggle out and make a play like he did to Seth Williams in the third quarter against the guy, it was a great play, great improv job by Drew Lock. But if he has a moment like that on that series, I think we may be talking about Drew Lock being the guy that would be announced today.
And that, to me, feels silly. It just if it's that close,
it should be Drew. If it's close, if you think it's close, it should be Drew. And look,
now,
they both were not very good in Minnesota in those joint practices, which I think is another thing that kind of lingers over this. But although both of them had 1 pick in team period reps, Teddy did have a touchdown against the ones, although it would have been a sack potentially in game conditions, and Drew didn't have that. And Teddy was also more accurate in terms of completion percentage against the Minnesota ones in those 2 days than Drew was.
You know what I think? I actually think that it's not as close as it is to our eyes. And what I think really comes down to, and I don't know if they'll tell us this, again, if Teddy ends up being the starting quarterback, is they grade every play on a very different scale than we do, because they know what's supposed to happen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We look good play, bad play. They're saying good read, bad read,
good
pre-snap, pre-snap adjustments, wrong pre-snap adjustments.
What if one of those sacks on that first series for Drew on Saturday was on him failing to identify something pre-snap? They know that. That's a difference-making thing.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is it didn't come down to one throw that one way or the other. It shouldn't come down to that. It comes down to, they're going to say, over the course of training camp, we felt like Teddy made the right decision more times. He read the field a little bit better and
commanded the offense. Yep. And Ryan, I agree with you that I don't think it's one throw. That's the difference. And I think the big illuminating thing is something we talked about on the post-game pod, and that is points per possession. Teddy just blew this out of the water. It would have been nearly impossible for any quarterback to keep up with that. The 6 points per possession. And one thing we talked about was how Drew was at 2.875. Now, almost less than half of Teddy. But let's say instead of that turnover on downs, they kick a field goal. We'll give Drew that benefit of the doubt. Give him 26 total points. That's still 3.25. That's almost half.
Then you can take 3 away from Teddy and say they kicked the field goal on that 4th and 5.
Or 4.
What's that?
Take
4 away. And even you can do
even
all the mental gymnastics
per possession.
You can do all the mental gymnastics you want. It gets it closer.
It gets it closer, and that's why I think it is actually going to be pretty obvious to them because of all of these back things. And with what we think about Vic, it's going to be very obvious. And that's why I think a decision is in the next 24 hours.
Right. And like, in the end, Vic Fangio is human. He didn't like what Drew Lock was doing last year. And I think even that is something that's hard for him to get past.
Well, remember, even like the week that they had to play Kendall Hinton, Vic was really unhappy with the quarterbacks. And he said so after the game. Of course, my counter to that is, Vic, you could have avoided this worst-case scenario by following what we said over the summer and having a COVID quarterback isolated. Blake Bortles should have been hanging out in Florida. He shouldn't have been up here with the team.
Good thing Blake Bortles isn't in the quarterback conversation now.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, and
so it's what I'm saying is like Vic kind of threw the quarterbacks under the bus after that game. You remember that press conference, but Vic wasn't without blame.